All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another departmental deep dive here on Facebook Live. My name is Tom. I will be your host for tonight. I'm the Associate Director of Communications in the Office of Undergrad Admissions. I'm looking outside right now. The weather appears to be beautiful. The weather is nice, not nearly as fun, though, as the amount of fun that you will surely have joining us for the departmental deep dive on our supply chain management program tonight. The event itself should take around 40 or so minutes. We're going to start off with a quick presentation from Dr. Granzel that overviews the program. And then we're going to jump into a panel discussion with some of our best and brightest from the supply chain management program. This is being recorded, and if anybody has any questions, I would encourage you to type them onto the Facebook post, and I will get the questions to the group. But before we go any further, Dr. Granzel and everybody, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Sure, Dr. Granzel. I've been at Bloomsbury since 2007. I'm a professor of management and supply chain management, and happy to be with everyone tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Carter to introduce himself.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Carter Luckenball. I'm a supply chain and IT double major here at Bloomsburg. I'll be graduating this weekend, luckily. I'm from York, PA. And then I guess, Stone, you can introduce yourself next.
Sure, my name's Stone Force. I'm also a dual ITM supply chain major, graduating this Sunday. And I'm from Berwick, PA, pretty close by. Now, Cornell.
Hi, guys. I'm Cornell Williams. I'm a senior supply chain management major. And I'll also be graduating this Sunday. I'm from Delaware County, Upper Darby to be specific, and then I'll pass it on to Jen.
Hey everyone, my name's Jen Steinbeck. I'm a senior at Bloomsburg University, graduating Sunday with the major of both supply chain and innovation technology, and I'm originally from Hebron, PA.
So, a lot of people from Southeast Pennsylvania, you all should be Philadelphia sports fans, particularly Eagle fans. Please don't disappoint me, everybody. Also, I just recently found out everyone's graduating here, and it sounds to me like you all have jobs already waiting for you. So before you even walk across the stage at graduation, you already have a job. So that's pretty good. I'm sure that makes your parents happy. Would you all mind explaining to us what your job title is and where you're going to be working?
Yeah, so I will, I actually took a position back in my hometown of York, PA. I'll be working for a industrial engineering consulting firm as a data analyst / engineer. And I got that job back in October.
October of 2020.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
That would make sense anytime before that. Wow. So you've had a job waiting for you. So my guess is you've been able to sleep a little bit better at night knowing that you have a job waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I still had to push through and, continue learning and finish my education, but it definitely was relieving being able to get a job before before my last semester, even at college.
Sure. So you didn't phone it in there for the last year. Well, good for you. Good for you. That's awesome, Carter. Stone.
Sure, so I'm going to be a second shift supervisor for the company Keystone Automotive, and they just had me relocate. So I'm going to Flower Mound, Texas, and I've been interning with them since my sophomore year. So I've had a long time with the company.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's awesome. Excellent. Jennifer.
So I just recently gave an offer for Dorman. I had multiple offers on the table, but I wasn't quite sure about other organizations, so I wanted to hold out for the perfect job. So my position is demand planning for the retail section, and Dorman is an aftermarket automotive sales distributor.
So you all were hot on the market. Good for you. Again, that's a good sign. Not only do we have good, talented students graduating from Bloomsburg, but also the supply chain management program is that good. So that's great to hear. We're going to go ahead and jump into Dr. Granzel's presentation here. Again, if there are any questions, please let us know. We are happy to answer anything.
Tom, we did miss Cornell there with his multiple job opportunities. He's still thinking about, so maybe one of our viewers might even have an idea for him to help him decide.
Oh, I'm embarrassed, Cornell. I apologize. Go ahead.
So I've accepted a job at DHL Supply Chain with the Unilever account out in Harrisburg, PA, like Mechanicsburg area.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted that job back in October, and I kept throwing my hat in the ring, kept going to interviews just for experience, and I've gotten some really great offers lately. So it's been a little bit of conflict of interest and tilting the scales now. So I'm trying to figure out what direction I really want to go to.
So the biggest problem you have is deciding what job you're going to take, what signing bonus to take.
Yes.
Those were not problems that I had when I graduated from college way back when. So that is awesome to hear from all of you. And we would love to hear more about these opportunities and how you got to where you're at right now throughout the course of the event. That's great to hear. So I apologize about that here, but go ahead, Dr. Granzel, let me bring your presentation back up.
Sure. Well, some of you might not even know what supply chain management really is, but if you think about this last year, you've heard quite a bit about supply chains and supply chain management. Think about some of the things like shortages of toilet paper and sanitizer and personal protective equipment, and changes in the types of products that we use and the way that we consume things, whether that was food or drinks, and we ended up not having as much kegged product and bottled product. And so we ended up with a can shortage that was a national and then an international problem. Building materials and bicycles and electronics, and capacity issues for the vaccine production, the logistics rollout of that vaccine. Severe constraints in trucking. There's not enough truck drivers to go around to deliver all these goods that are moving. The issues we just saw this past weekend with the pipeline being hacked. The freeze in Texas and the impact that had on multiple industries, both on the supply and demand side, an extended shortage of semiconductors that are literally shutting down manufacturing plants as we speak in automotive and high tech. We're talking about ramifications in the billions, multiple billions of dollars in lost revenue. You remember that container ship, the Ever Given, that got stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yes.
Chlorine tablets that now people are trying to open their pools up again and they can't get their chlorine tablets because of a fire that happened back in August at a chlorine tablet manufacturing plant. So supply chain is everywhere, and it's just been brought to the forefront in this last year. What we try to do is learn about the flow of materials, information, and money. And there's different parts that we do to help us learn that. We learn about sourcing, identifying, selecting, and negotiating sources of supply. We learn about planning, things like Jen's going to do in demand planning. What's our future demand going to be, and how are we going to meet that demand from a capacity and financial standpoint? We learn about making things, so production. We learn about delivering things like Cornell is going to be end up doing and what Stone's going to be end up doing. We learn about returning. How do we get goods back that are getting returned or that are getting recycled or they're getting remanufactured? And then we also learn about enabling. So you notice some of the students have IT majors or minors as well. That's one of the enabling processes. How do these things occur? What metrics do we look at? How are we going to make sure we're going to do our transportation management, our data collection, our finance? So there's a lot that goes into it. And we want to make sure we graduate students that are fully prepared across the whole scope of supply chain.
So it seems like supply chain is more or less the, now it's way more complicated than this, but getting items from point A to point B as efficiently as possible.
Efficiently and effectively, yeah.
And
so we want to make sure we
yes.
maximize profit, of course, and that
Right.
gets into the efficiency piece. We also look at other things like service levels, lead times, environmental impact, risk. There's a lot that goes into overall supply chain planning. And then on a micro level, I guess it would be like, okay, we have these packages we have to get out to the customers today. How are we going to most efficiently do that?
Right.
So yeah, there's macro issues. There's also these little micro issues too.
Sure, great.
So this slide just shows some of our program outcomes, and I'll just take a quick gander at a few of them here. We're looking at managing supply chain resources, processes, and relationships. We look at best practices across supply chains. We think about ways to make data-driven decision with real-time data, learning to lead in a cross-functional, cross-organizational reality of modern supply chains, and being able to compete for in-demand careers, which you heard our students are able to do. We look for students who are problem solvers, who are thinkers, who can collaborate, who can work in teams, who can lead, who are goal-oriented, who are analytical, but also good communicators, who are disciplined, who are organized, who enjoy getting their hands dirty too, because some of the jobs you do in supply chain require you to get out into the plant floor and work, okay? Realize these skill sets are in high demand in industry, and our students will tell us more about that. They're in high demand in industry, but short supply. There's only so many students who graduate with supply chain type of training. because not that many colleges offer supply chain programs. If you look in the state of Pennsylvania, for example, some of the big brand schools that I won't mention, they have supply chain programs. Many private schools don't. In the state system, 2 have a supply chain program. We're one of them. We started our major in 2015. It's a unique program, which I'll describe on the next slide or 2. But we didn't just start it in 2015. We had a decade of work doing minors and concentrations prior to that. So this has been a long time in coming, and we're pretty good at what we do, and we're proud of it. So some of the coursework that you would take as a supply chain major here at Bloomsburg would be things like decision-making and supply chain operations, learning about cash flows across supply chains and profitability, learning about the ERP systems or the information systems that help do a lot of supply chain, learning who your customers are and who the right customers are that you want to go after in customer relationship management, how to manage those relationships. We learn about logistics and quality and managing processes, managing innovation, and finally a capstone seminar type of course. And this is in addition to the required general education courses you would have to take, like your economics, your math courses, your statistics courses, your required business core, like your management, your marketing, your law, those kinds of courses. Something that's unique about Bloomsburg, we are very interfunctional, if you will, or cross-functional in our approach. So some of these courses are taught out of marketing, for example. Some are taught by finance people or by accounting people. Some are taught by ITM people. So we try to bring the various perspectives from across our college to bring a good program to you. We use a cohort structure, which you get into a cohort in your junior year, and basically the same 20 students or so go through these 10 classes together in order. To the first fall of your junior year, then 3 this spring, then 2 the fall, then 3 the spring, with the same students in the classes together. So you really get to know your fellow classmates. You get to know your professors really well. When it comes time for recommendations or, hey, I need a job type of thing, we oftentimes have connections and we know who the students are because we've seen them 3 or 4 classes and we know how they behave and how they lead and how they work together. We have technology deployed through all these courses, some higher end technology too that you don't see at many other programs. And we also have some opportunities that you heard our students to augment your supply chain work with other majors or minors, whether that's in IT, could be in management, could be in marketing, could be in finance. Other types of interests, you can augment your supply chain work with those as well.
So Dr. Granzel, if you are a prospective student right now, it's unlikely that you're taking these kinds of courses in high school or at a community college or another 4-year institution. What are some indicators for a prospective student that might be considering supply chain that might say, oh, you know what, I like these things. These things are all related to this field. Maybe it's math, maybe it's being good with giving and following directions, like something a little more, concrete or tangible.
Absolutely. So yeah, being an analytical person is important. Okay. So in Jen's job, for example, is in demand planning, she's going to have to look at a lot of numbers and be able to make sense of them and be able to come up with a forecast of what future demand is going to be. But then she has to work with others to actually help implement that. And there's going to be times she might be calling customers. So she's going to have that customer service type of experience too. There's going to be times she's going to have to work with others in the organization to say, hey, you know what? The customer needs this. We didn't plan on that. How are we going to make that work? So those problem solvers, those people who are adaptable, who can adjust, who can think, who can be decisive, who can understand the big picture while also handling details. Those are the students that we want. That's what's demanded out in industry.
Sure. Great. Thank you. That's helpful.
All right. We do have a student association. It's an Association for Supply Chain Management, which is an international organization. We have a student chapter. We do lots of industry collaboration. We reach out to alumni. We have guest speakers. We go on field trips to manufacturing plants, to warehouses. The one picture there in the middle is actually a picture of a hospital because hospitals have supply chain and operations as well. And we also have fun. The picture in the top right, play with things like volleyball, or we challenge other clubs. The last year has been difficult. We've been doing most of our things on Zoom. All 4 of our students that are with us today have been active in that. We've still been meeting like every other week or so, but it's been having former students and professionals Zoom in and speak with us. We haven't been able to do the field trips, but we will again, and we'll be able to have the fun too. It's about identifying a network for students, helping them understand career projections, paths that they could go to. Sometimes you never even realize these are opportunities until you have an opportunity, somebody come tell you about it, or to go and see it for yourself. And sometimes you go on a field trip and you realize, hey, this isn't where I want to be, and that's okay. Eliminating something is helpful too, because then it can help you focus on the things that you do want to do. So we've had some former students, for example, go to work in a manufacturing environment. It's this picture in the lower right. Students go work in a warehousing environment. Stone might recognize Adam there in the middle. He was a former Keystone employee. That's in Keystone up in Exeter, Pennsylvania. And then this is in a Geisinger healthcare system where we have some former students employed in healthcare as well, in all kinds of roles. So we're real excited with the diversity of opportunities that our supply chain program brings to students and our ability to connect those students with industry partners. Another resource we have on campus that we're very fortunate to have is the Nicolas J. Giuffre Center for Supply Chain Management. That was actually a gift, a very large gift from the former CEO of Bradford White Water Heaters, Mr. Giuffre. As you can see here, his son is also graduating this Sunday with a supply chain management degree. And his daughter had also gone to Bloomsburg. I think she was marketing, but he gave us resources to help our students. It funds a physical space, as you can see behind us standing there on the day of the dedication, but is also financial support for events that we do. It's helped fund some content production. As you see in the lower right, I'm now doing a state of the supply chain on a monthly basis. It gives some training for faculty. One of the best parts is some financial support for students who want to pursue certifications, professional certifications. So for example, Carter was trained and sat for a test and passed for a Six Sigma Yellow Belt. So he's not only graduating with a degree from a university, he also has a professional certification already from the American Society for Quality. And that was fully funded through the Giuffre Center. So that's a type of opportunity that you don't see at many other universities. As far as our job outlook goes, I just took a sampling of some employment opportunities, the relevant job titles, what the mean wage is in Pennsylvania. This is the average wage, right? So you don't always start out this high, of course, but this is the average rate wage. And then the job projections, both in the US and Pennsylvania. And one of the things I really want you to focus in on, plus 8%, plus 9%, plus 5%, plus 6%, plus 9%, plus 6%. 10-year job growth projections out to 2028. It's nice to be in an environment that's growing and growing rapidly. That means there's opportunities, right? That means people are retiring and new positions will open. So not only do you get that first job, but then you're going to be able to move up the ladder because there'll be additional add-on opportunities for you as you go. So we have students going to work in purchasing. We have students going to work in operations. We have students, former students that are now supply chain managers, high-level VPs of supply chain. We have students working in logisticians. So they're the ones that are helping coordinate trucking and rail transportation and shipping on container ships. And we have students going in production planning. For a student right now graduating Sunday just let me know yesterday, Sir Michael, in Jen's cohort group, took a job as a production planner. We have students that are working in project management. So diversity of opportunities for you, and sometimes you end up in purchasing and you realize you don't like purchasing. The skill sets are transferable to a completely different career opportunity for you too. So it's a wonderful time to be in supply chain.
Yeah, it seems like this is a pretty good investment in a future career because you're going to get a job. I would imagine you probably don't need an advanced degree to do this, so you don't need an MBA, you don't need a doctorate, you don't need a law degree. And after 4 years, we have 4 panelists here who have a job waiting for them and have multiple offers. So yeah, this is definitely a good field to be in at this point.
Hey, Tom, let's take a look at some of our former students. Actually, 2 of them they're graduating Sunday too, Trent and Mike. I put these ones up here just to give you another example. Mike's going to work as an operations supervisor at DHL Supply Chain. Trent's going to work in logistics at Crayola. Look at some of the brands of the companies here, right? These are strong brands. And then we're going to see promotions and we're going to see upward movement afterwards very quickly too. We have Matt Smith, a supply chain specialist at Sekisui. Hannah's in business process improvement. Alex is a supply chain specialist for Cardinal Health. Marcelo's a logistics planner at Nordic Cold Chain Solutions. And then next slide, if you don't mind, Tom. We have Pranav, who's a systems specialist at Accenture. Janelle's an assistant engineering manager at Dyco. Julie's in demand planning. Sean's a senior operations manager at Target. Ivy's at CH Robinson. Nicole's in purchasing at Habpack. Brandon's a logistics planner at the Boston Beer Company. Matt's at a production planner at Johnson Matthew, which does minerals. And then John's over in London right now. He's the program manager for EU capacity at Amazon Logistics. And he graduated, I think, 5 years ago, right? So the opportunities are tremendous, diverse, strong brands, and our students have been extremely successful. And we're excited to get more students who want to kind of take that journey like our students that are with us today.
Yeah, and again, it definitely seems to be one of the more unique programs that are out there. And like Dr. Granzel had said, there's not a huge supply of students, no pun intended, supply of students who have this kind of background. So, I think that definitely kind of breeds as to why, people are in such high demand. There's just not a lot of students with these kinds of, these skill sets. So that's good news. You're not jumping into a really overcrowded job market. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the panel Q&A discussion. And I'd like to hear from Dr. Granzel too, if you don't mind. So what's your favorite class and why? And we can start with Dr. Granzel. In your case, it would be your favorite class to teach.
So my favorite class to teach is our seminar course, because I just had all these students in it actually this semester, but all the students have already had all their courses to that point. It's the last thing you take as a senior. And so it's just enjoyable to get to know those students over the course of a couple of years and then see them as they're transitioning into the workplace and get to know them more as people and as professionals that I'm going to keep in touch with for the rest of their lives, hopefully. And that's fulfilling for me. So it's not so much content related or the way I teach it. It's just the state of what that class is.
And what might students learn in your senior seminar class?
So as an example, we do cases in that that class where we basically take some information from logistics and some from quality and some from decision making and kind of like all in end to end. Let's apply all this stuff now.
Excellent. Great. Stone.
My favorite class was the supply chain operations class. Prior to that, I was interning at Keystone. I really got to see the similarities to what we were learning in the classroom applied out in the learning field. So it was nice to see that.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Stone. Jennifer.
My favorite class was actually my very first supply chain class, which was managerial decision making. I think that's the first time I really got into supply chain and realized, okay, I can do this. I'm super glad that I picked this because you don't just learn how to decision make, you learn all the tools in Excel that you're going to use for your entire college career and for your future. And it really kind of paves that path on how you are going to see yourself for the future and whether you're going to succeed in this major or not. And I think that a lot of people got really excited after taking that.
So in the managerial decision making, I'm assuming it's not picking at random, right? The decisions are rooted in some kind of theory and some kind of data. What goes into a decision? What are some of the skill sets that you might walk away with after that course?
So after that course, it definitely shows that different variables from different, parts of supply chain. So not everything is just in one box. You have to kind of think outside the box. Again, supply chain is just end to end. So it's not just one thing is, brought into this decision. It's almost all these variables and how much of these variables should we decide on and do we really want to decide on this and the root causes and symptoms of a lot of things. And it really just shows how business kind of operates. And I think that's what supply chain truly is and how it functions together into one whole picture of business operations.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Cornell.
My favorite class was actually the class that Christian Granzel taught us, supply chain seminar. I think being a senior and going into the job market, you're kind of at that point to where you have a feel what you want to do, but supply chain is so broad that it's kind of hard to scope where you quite fit in it. So the cool connections games that we got to partake in, we kind of got complete control over every aspect of not only the supply chain but the company itself, and we had to go with ROA and basically have a positive return.
What's ROA?
So return on assets. So basically, how much money you're bringing in and compared to how much money you're spending.
Okay.
So basically, I got to hone in on where I think I'd fit in best within my own career through this kind of simulation.
Excellent. That's a great answer. Thank you, Cornell. Carter.
Yeah, I say I would agree with Jen and Cornell. I really enjoyed the managerial decision-making class just because it kind of gave you a good perspective on, how to make the correct decisions and what we should prioritize and, how to make informed business decisions. I think that was like the first class that really opened up my eyes to, this is what I want to do with my career and this is the type of stuff that I like. And then with the seminar, I thought it was really good because it kind of tied not only all of our classes together that we have taken over the past, 2 or 3 years with our supply chain core, but it also allowed us to bring in experience from like our internships. I know me personally, I had 2 internships. So with our supply chain simulation, there were 4 different departments. Each department got to make their own decisions and kind of collaborate cross-functionally to make decisions for this simulation. So I think it just did a really good job of bringing all of our knowledge together, both from the classroom and our real world experience in internships.
Great. So in all the courses that were mentioned, they're all hands-on classes, right? They're all case studies. You're dealing in hypothetical situations and situations that you're probably going to deal with as an employee. So it seems like they're all really interesting classes. And I've seen the physical structure of some of your classrooms, and they're all really conducive to doing group work as opposed to like a lecture format where it's just a faculty member at a podium kind of lecturing. So it seems like a big part of this is going to be working with groups, a lot of applied projects as opposed to things that are really more or less kind of rooted in theory. So that's excellent. All very hands-on projects. Now, were you able to walk out of these classes with things you could add to your resume? This is more or less a question for the group.
Absolutely. I think that especially in interviews, when they ask you, can you touch on this subject or can you relate it back to something? Supply chain, I have had more than one example to give them. And I think that even having more than one example really blows their mind because it shows how, it really is structured in our supply chain that we have to know all of the business functions. And they really do give us real life examples, and it helps us, take that together and use that knowledge and then further our career and further our education through that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because you're going to get those questions when you go to interviews about some of these other situations. And if you're, if this is your first full-time job, you might not have a ton of instances to discuss unless you have a very applied degree like supply chain. That's a really, really good point. I never thought about it like that. Anybody else?
Yeah, kind of going along with that. I mean, after our one class managing quality, I know Dr. Granzel had mentioned it earlier, but we had the opportunity to pursue a professional certification. So after taking that class, it gave me the knowledge to then pursue my Six Sigma Yellow Belt through ASQ. And that's just something that I was able to add to my resume, speak about in interviews, and obviously, take that knowledge into my career.
Yeah, and the way it used to work with colleges, you would spend the first 3.5 semesters of your academic career taking classes. Then the last semester is when you would take an internship and apply some of the things that you've learned in the courses. The one thing that BU does a really good job of is making sure that you're doing all of these professional activities beginning your first year. Right. So that way, by the time you get there, it's not just that one internship, right? You have a wealth of all these experiences that you can talk about and really expand on when you're sitting in interviews or applying for jobs. So those are all great points. Did anybody else have anything else to add?
I got one more thing. So another
please.
plus to take away from the classes here, we always talk about the current updates, where shortages are and things that to make it relevant to what we're learning. And it was great because just the other day I got to interview with people and show what I've already talked about in class, and they were shocked to see I'm that current with the events, and it was nice to see from a guy my age.
Yeah, and especially for a student, it's really easy to connect the dots between, like I can remember being in high school and taking, geometry. And I like geometry, don't get me wrong, but it was really hard for me to be like, man, how am I ever going to use this? And I apologize to the geometry teachers in the audience, but it's hard for me to be like, what am I going to do with this? Whereas with the supply chain program, it's pretty easy to see how this is going to be used, so this is going to be directly related to exactly what you're going to be doing in your career. Great. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Corna, go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing, but for me, these classes helped instill confidence in the interview.
Oh,
So it really, between being in the classroom and working at the job I was at, but definitely I was able to present myself in a way to not only sell myself, but know what I was talking about and be confident in what I was saying.
yeah. And confidence is one of those things where you're not going to learn it from a textbook, right? And it's going to come from opportunities to prove to yourself that you can do these things. So yeah, one of the biggest issues with young professionals is just lack of confidence and not really being sure if you're doing it the right way. Whereas in this case, you've had 4 years practice. So that way you're really able to hit the ground running when you start that first job. That's actually, Cornell, that's an excellent point. And Cornell, I know you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. It's always easier to stand a little bit taller after we won a Super Bowl. Once you have that first championship, we can all just, kind of let the weight off of our shoulders there. So I know we all feel a little bit better in terms of confidence. It's a great point. So you all were not taking these classes in high school, at least I would assume. How did you find out about this program? How did you find out about supply chain? What was your decision-making process, right? We've talked about managerial decisions. What was your managerial decision to go ahead and major in supply chain?
So for me, like when I was deciding what I wanted to do when I went to college, I went to a lot of different businesses and asked just like the job shadow a day or two just to see what it is they do. And after going to enough warehouses and seeing what's available, I thought that matched up the best with what I enjoyed to do business.
Sure. Okay. All right. So now, were these experiences that you were doing in high school?
Yes, I would just take a day on a weekend. I'd have
Okay.
the school message other companies to see if they'd be willing to just show me around and what it is they do.
Okay. That's a great idea. All right. Thanks, Stone. Jennifer.
In high school, I was very involved. I loved the leadership role, but when I went to college, I kind of wanted to take a step back. I was always interested in business. My parents were both in the business field, so I thought that business would be perfect for me. I'm also a big chatter, so I thought that, talking to people a lot was definitely something that I wanted to do. But I found that I didn't want to do a job where I was going to sit at the desk all day and crunch numbers or look at my computer all the time. I love collaboration, and I'm a very outspoken, outgoing person, which I think is definitely, if you're outgoing and you really like leadership roles, I think supply chain maybe might be for you. Also, those people who like leadership but are a little bit shy, I think that supply chain kind of opens your mind and your world up and kind of also introduces you to new people and lets people see that like, oh, maybe I'm not shy. I do have these leadership roles. But I wasn't a leadership role a lot in high school, so I definitely wanted to kind of transition over that in college. I tried out accounting, I didn't love it. And supply chain really grabbed me because it wasn't a lot of numbers, but you had to know business in and out, and to completely grasp what you're doing, you had to know a lot of different variables, and I love to learn. So I think that, having to understand all of these different things definitely made it very attractive for me.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and it seems like for people who are aspiring leaders or might enjoy project management, because it seems like with supply chain, you have to have your hands in a lot of different aspects. You're not really going to be a person who's siloed, right? You're not going to be, and there are some business disciplines that I would imagine are like that, where like you're going to do this one field and only that one thing, where supply chain, you're going to have to know a little bit of everything in order to do the job well. Great. Cornell.
So coming out of high school, I actually was a physical therapy major. I wanted to go into PT, and then I actually had a conversation with my uncle who just became like a project manager at a construction site.
Oh, perfect.
And I thought it was really cool. Half his job, like Jen said, was spent behind a desk, and half the time he's on the plant floor, he's talking to people, he's interacting, he's seeing how people's day are going. And I just viewed that I couldn't see myself behind a computer all day, because that's just not my personality. I love to talk to people. I love to be involved. And so I dove into a complete field I didn't know anything about. And once I started taking my classes, I loved every second of it. So I can't.
Sure. Now, Cornell, did you do any additional research? Like, did you look at the classes or did you talk to any faculty members? Like, what was, so once
So-
you talked to your uncle, like, what was the rest of the decision process like?
I kind of just did my own research and was just looking online, and I saw that supply chain was just starting to really like take off because a lot of the e-commerce was starting to become more of a trend, and
Right.
people were buying more so online. And I was like, you know what, this seems like something I could dive into. The money seems to be great. There seems to be jobs there. So worst case scenario, I would have switched again, but I loved it. Like I said before, I loved it. And
Yeah. Excellent. And you bring up another good point, Cornell, about e-commerce. And Dr. Granzel, you can confirm this. I would imagine, though, with so much e-commerce happening right now and so much business being done online and a lot of buying and purchasing being done remotely, that probably increases the demand for supply chain. Like I know in the neighborhood that I live in, I see that Amazon truck driving by 10, 15 times a day. And that's just one instance, right? So I would imagine that there's only going to be more, like, I mean, people aren't going to shopping malls to buy things anymore, right? A lot of these things are being purchased online, business to business sales as well. So is there a correlation between e-commerce and the rise of supply chain managers?
Yeah, there certainly is, right? The context of how we get our goods that we consume has changed radically in the last decade. And again, we saw that just this last year.
Sure.
And I use that simple example, but think about those restaurants that were shut down. So there wasn't the demand for kegged product, right? Or even bottled product as much. Say people were at home, and so they were consuming beverages still, but just in different ways. And
Right.
so that rippled all the way through supply chains, all the way down to, we don't have enough cans to be able to put this product in that we can make, because the product still gets made, but you don't have anything to put it into.
Right.
Because the capacity wasn't there, right? So yes, the context has changed drastically, and it will continue to change drastically. And so the ability to adapt to new requirements, that's supply chain, figuring out the ways to achieve the objective with constrained resources. And that will always be there.
And, whenever we talk about these subjects with logistics and supply chain, I'm always so surprised at how delicate the ecosystem is, right? Like I'm so spoiled in just being able to go to the store or go to a hospital and like go to these things, and just like everything I need is there. Like I have no idea how they got there. It could have been magic for all I know, but it's amazing where like how much that I take for granted. So I probably owe you all a debt of gratitude for all the work that you're doing now, making sure that all these items that we all need, like a lot of these things, they're necessities, right? And you look at a car, there's a million items in a car, right? And they all probably come from different locations. That doesn't happen without the people who are working and managing the supply flow. So that's pretty cool. Thanks. Carter.
Yeah, so for me, I never took a business class in high school, so I knew I wanted to get into business like in college, but I wasn't exactly sure which route to take. So I started talking to some people, I guess just in the business industry in general. And I came upon supply chain. I knew I wanted to come to Bloomsburg just because it's, great business reputation. So I started sifting through the types of programs we have. Saw supply chain. I thought like the types of things that supply chain is about, it kind of aligns with what I'm interested in. I kind of like seeing things through a process and, improving things. Another cool thing to me about our program was the cohort program, like we mentioned before. You go through all these classes with the same group of people, so it's easy to collaborate and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And when you go from one class to another, you're ready to start working with these students on day one instead of being nervous to talk to each other for the first 5 or 6 classes. So that's something nice that we have here. And kind of like all three of them mentioned as well, supply chain just a new and emerging field, and I think it's going to continue to expand in the years to come.
Yeah, and Carter, your point about the cohort is, it's nice that you already have like this built-in support network or like this built-in group of friends, right? Where you come to college, you go to Bloomsburg, and there's already like 20 or 30 people who are interested in the same thing that you are, taking the same classes, working on the same projects. It probably makes the transition to college a lot easier. One of the bigger differences between high school and college is in high school, it oftentimes feels like you're the only person who likes this thing or who is interested in this thing. Whereas when you go to college, you expand your horizons a little bit and you're like, oh, wow, actually, there's a lot of people who share my interests. This is a perfect example of that. There might have only been a couple of other kids from your high school that went on to go into supply chain management, if that. And, you came to Bloomsburg and you had this whole community of people who are interested in supply chain. So even though it's academic, there is definitely, the social fabric of the program is pretty important. So I'm assuming, do you all know each other on a personal level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
much.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
And just to add on to that, I mean, I think it's also beneficial, like the class sizes that we have. I know originally I wanted to go to like a bigger school, but I realized that I didn't think that'd be the best decision. And, being in smaller class sizes, you get to know your professors more. So it's a more personal learning experience. I know like Dr. Granzel has helped me outside of the classroom, with jobs and just general, feedback and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's been beneficial as well, just getting to know your professors on a personal level.
Yeah, I always hear about small class sizes, right? Every college in America says, talks about baby, a small class size. Well, what does that mean? And I think, Carter, you just hit the nail on the head, right? You're going to get to know your faculty really well. Your courses are going to predominantly be taught through open discussion and project work as opposed to lecture style, which frankly, honestly, it's just not nearly as exciting or as enticing as more of an open discussion. Now, the downside is there's nowhere to hide, right? You have to come to class prepared. You have to have done the reading. You have to have done the work, or obviously it's going to be pretty clear that that you're not ready. There's really nowhere to hide, but you're definitely going to get the most out of your academic experience. Yeah, no question. I always enjoyed the classes for me that were open discussion way more than the ones that were lecture based. Yeah, great point. Great question. So what are your career goals? What's the end game here? Dr. Granzel, I hope your end game is to be a professor of supply chain management at Bloomsburg, right?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Good. That was the right answer. Good. Perfect. Stone.
So as of now, the goals can go anywhere. The company wants me to move wherever. So
Sure.
still trying to figure that out, but eventually one day potentially run a distribution center.
Okay.
Stay down somewhere.
Yeah. And someplace with warm weather.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be preferable. Sure. Jennifer.
Career goals would definitely be, build those relationships as a career and kind of lean on my support system that I've already developed throughout my supply chain program and kind of thrive throughout my position. So having an organization that truly allows growth through not just my position, but allows me to kind of understand different processes and procedures to help myself really succeed in their aspect. And then overall, I'd love to buy a house and kind of show that I am being successful. But again, supply chain is in such a demand. There's so many little of us that truly have this vast knowledge that we have been able to learn throughout the years. So starting out for us, honestly, I think that everyone can truly do their career goals and set dreams that are achievable just because of how well we've learned and how well we've learned for the past 4 years. So I think that those career goals can definitely take off very quickly.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Cornell.
I think short-term goals for me definitely is to just start getting my feet wet, start learning different aspects and find out where I'm comfortable at. Because like I said before, supply chain is so broad. I might do operations for 2 years and find out, maybe I like procurement more often. And so I think it's just the learning experience and the feel of where I want to be. As of right now, I think I want to lean towards like international operations.
Okay.
Kind of working overseas and different implementations and consulting for overseas networks. So I think that's a pretty cool thing to get into.
You like to travel?
I love to travel. I want to see the world. I grew up in a military family, so we
nice.
can everywhere.
Yeah. So now, Dr. Granzel, is this a field where there are, there's good opportunity to do some traveling while working?
Yes, certainly, especially if you're in aspects of like manufacturing or if you're in purchasing. We have some former students that are in like the strategic side of purchasing, which is identifying new sources of supply. And they'll leave and travel to Egypt, and then they're in India, and then they're in China. And for people who enjoy that, that's great. I was just looking up one of my former students, one of the first ones through with like a supply chain program, Bloomsburg, like over a decade ago. And I was surprised he's now down in Mexico. Right. He's running some manufacturing down in Mexico. So there are definitely opportunities depending on what you want to do. a former student got into international logistics. That was always her dream, was to work at a German logistics organization. They're
Oh,
big
okay.
over in Europe. And so, she's doing importing, exporting, and,
Yeah.
just neat opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, and again, I would imagine just the nature of the economy now. Everything is globalized, right? That's kind of a buzzword that people hear often is globalized, and that's absolutely the case. And you can always tell that through the supply chain, where all these different things are coming from all over the country or all over the world. Yeah. Thank you. And Carter.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing for me is I just want to find a job in a career path that I really enjoy, I'm interested in. I think I'm going to find that in supply chain because there's so many different avenues you can go. And then for me, I want to work my way up through leadership positions because that's something that I've always been passionate about. And going on top of that, I think Bloomsburg's done a great job of, there's so many opportunities out there to be a part of like different programs and organizations out there to like build your leadership skills. And I think that's something that companies really look for. And, Bloom gave me that opportunity. I was fortunate enough to be the captain of our soccer team here. I was also a part of the student athlete advisory committee. So there's another leadership position. Phi Beta Lambda is a academic organization here in Bloomsburg. So I think that just goes to show like there's opportunity here at Bloomsburg for many different types of people to join many different types of organizations and, kind of find what you like and grow from there.
Yeah, and Carter, so you read my mind there because my next question was going to be, so like what did an average day or an average week pre-COVID look like for you? And like what were some of the other things that you were involved in, right? Because I know this is a pretty work heavy major, right? Probably has it's probably pretty labor intensive. What other things were you involved in, and what did an average day or an average week look like, Stone?
So an average day was my mornings, and in between I would do the help desk. So I was student worker down at Bloom. Then I'd have my classes in the afternoon. And my nights were, obviously you still have to study and learn for the classes, but you still had plenty of free time in the nights. So I did rugby as a side thing for a while.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So you did rugby, you worked on campus, took classes during the day. And Stone, I know you said that you were a Steelers fan, probably fitting Steelers games in on Sundays. Anything about weekends? Like, is that when you're doing like, group projects? Is that, you're prepping for the upcoming week or just trying to relax?
Yeah, weekends there was prep time and you did have to communicate with your groups, but it wasn't strenuous enough that you couldn't do anything else.
Okay.
It was good balance.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Stone. Jennifer.
So I developed a great friendship. So a regular day for me would be going to classes. Classes were usually set on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that they would stay together. And we would usually have an hour break in between. So I would head to the gym to kind of help clear my mind, but also really retain the knowledge that we just learned because it is a lot to take in. And then afterwards, sometimes I'd meet up with friends right at the library to discuss, things that we talked about in class, or we always had a lot of projects going on. We always had assignments going on. So maybe just writing down notes from class to understand what is expected of us and what needs to really come as our final project. And again, we do have a cohort, so you do have a lot of people that you can lean on and, collaborate with and understand what's expected and what you guys kind of want to see as your final output for the professors. And that's a normal day. I usually go home, do some homework. It has a lot of projects. It is a lot of assignments. But again, it's not super overwhelming where you feel as though it's like your breaking point. I think that they understand that we are students and we have a lot going on outside of the classroom as well, and we have other classes, so they are very respective of that.
Were there any like clubs or organizations that you were involved with?
Yeah, so I'm involved in ZIP, and I'm a lead student. So ZIP, I would have, sometimes we would have meetings once a week, or we would have professional engagements to go to once a week. I was also involved as ASCM, so we would have chapter meetings once a week, which is definitely exciting to kind of see what's going on. It also shows the alumni in supply chain really do come back and kind of are super special because they love to help us. They love to, give opportunities to students. So that supply chain is really special in that way, that people really are a helping hand and they like to see you succeed in the business world. So I think that it's very special in that way and different from other things that are, offered at Bloomsburg.
So you hit us with a couple acronyms that went over my head. Zipped.
Zip. So Ziegler College of Business Development Program. Sorry, I blanked a bit. So that kind of helps with business students to kind of understand different aspects of business and kind of set you up for success for the career. And then they offer a boot camp where you can graduate. So you have at least 2 assignments each week for 1 semester to kind of really get to understand how to become the best professional you can become in yourself, and to kind of, search that into your final journey of Bloomsburg. So for me, it definitely helped with getting to know interviews well and how to present myself. And so just along with supply chain, the College of Business definitely helps us to become professionals and sets us up for as much success as they possibly can in their resources.
Or it's kind of like soft skills development and almost like the gamesmanship of going into the world of business.
Correct. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Cornell.
I was an early bird, so I started my mornings by going to the gym, and that way I'm like awake and up, and I'll have my
How
coffee
early?
and my classes. I used to get up around like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Whew. Okay.
Yeah. So that way
Yeah, for college, that's pretty early.
I'm already showered, I'm already up, and I'm already
Good
going.
for you.
So got my workout in, and then I'll go to all my classes. And like Jen said, it's very collaborative. Like if I ever missed a class or if I ever had to work, I could always rely on like other students to get the notes. So we kind of like work hand in hand to just like encourage each other. And
Sure.
if someone's like struggling and someone's struggling, like people will literally go out of their way to build you up and to bring you up. So it's a really cool aspect about the supply chain major. We're all really close. Yeah. And at nights and weekends, I worked at Boone's Dam. It's like a catering company in town. So I used to have to prioritize my workload for the daytime because I knew at night I have to go to work.
Yeah.
So just being on top of your schedule and being on top of your assignments and kind of collaborating with your group members of what times work best to work on certain things is definitely something I recommend you learn early.
Yeah.
You can fall behind and a lot of things can get jumbled. But once you get that down pat and get your schedule set, it's a breeze. Yeah. It's a great thing to be a part of.
So Cornell, it sounded like you had a lot going on. How did you stay organized? Did you use like a planner? Did you use a project management tool? What was your method for staying organized?
My laptop and phone were the best things ever.
Sure.
I just put it in my calendar, and so I'd have like, I was a member of Alpha Tau Omega. It was a fraternity I was on campus before, so I kind of had the calendar already going with like different events we had with them, and different assignments I had coming up. I try to put them in at least a week in advance, so that way I kind of have a jump on the understanding of okay, like this day I'm gonna have a heavy case, so maybe I could get off that day or.
Yes.
Anything, just kind of trying to work your schedule. It's kind of like a big ball of clay. You just got to keep molding and keep working until it fits what you need.
Yeah, those were that was wisdom I wished I had learned much earlier in my career. Yes, being that organized and planning out your weeks, a week in advance, and so you have an idea of what's coming up. Yep, great advice. Thank you, Cornell. Carter.
Yeah, so kind of going along with what Cornell said. For us student athletes, the biggest thing for us is like learning how to balance your time.
Sure.
A lot of the time we're either practicing, lifting, traveling, or playing games outside of class. So, we're at practice, go to class, have some free time to do homework, and then, whatever little free time we have left, just kind of hang out with our friends and relax.
Right.
I was on the soccer team here. Like I said, I was the team captain. Going along with soccer, I was a part of the student athlete advisory committee, which there's 2 people from each athletic team. And you're basically a voice for your team and kind of the whole athletic department as a whole. If there's any issues or any concerns they have, we're kind of a voice for them and the NCAA as well. And then other than that, I was involved with Phi Beta Lambda, which is basically future business. I know for some high schoolers, they have Future Business Leaders of America. That's what it is.
FBLA, yeah.
So this is kind of the college version of that. I was only involved with that for like a semester or 2, but that was just a good opportunity to kind of network with some more business students and, like I said, grow my leadership experience there.
Sure. Yeah. So you all were exceptionally busy people. So that's good. Again, those are skills that managing that schedule will certainly come in handy in your professional career. So this is the last question for the night. Favorite thing, or I shouldn't say that, favorite experience that you've had over the past 4 years at BU that is supply chain related? Stone.
It's hard to narrow down my favorite experience to one thing. I guess the most interesting thing was just getting to know the professors there, and my
Okay.
mother's professor there too. So it was weird to see her teacher side.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Is your mom Dr. Force in business education?
That's correct. Yep.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a small world up on the hill. All right. Nice. Oh, that's pretty cool. Probably like worlds colliding, right? You're used to,
Yeah.
you know her as mom and everyone else knows her as Dr. Force. Oh, that's really cool. That's a good story, Stone. Good. Jennifer.
I would definitely say all the friends I've made in supply chain. Again, this cohort has been talked about so much, and I know that people are probably like, oh, you probably get sick of each other. I loved it. I loved it so much. You don't just have that person to collaborate with, you build a friendship, you kind of support each other, you truly support each other. And again, like everyone has jobs. You really do, you feel great about it because it's like we're a unit, you know, you work together, you're as one in the end. So it's super exciting to see everyone have a great, you know, aspect while they're graduating, but it's nice to have those friendships to take along with you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, honestly, when you all started talking about the cohort aspect, I never really thought about it. But that is 100% true. Yes, great. Thanks, Jennifer. Cornell.
Just the bonds I've built over time and people I've got to meet. You know, I come from like a very diverse area, so I was able to connect with a vast number of people inside the supply chain cohort, and it's been really cool just to get different perspectives and different outputs. And we all like even get advice on like our job offers. Like we'll ping them off
Right.
each other, and like we'll say, hey, like you think this is a really good opportunity? And both Granzels, Dr. Granzel that's on today and his dad, they helped me a lot in my job process, and just
Yeah.
little advice they gave me, and it kind of helped me figure out the direction I wanted to go to. So I want to thank them for that, and everyone else that helped me get to where I'm at today.
Is literally and figuratively a family affair in the supply chain management program. Yeah, that's great. Great. Thanks, Cornell. Carter.
Yeah, I agree with everything that they just said too. But I guess mine would probably be the professional certification experience that I had, just because it was so rewarding to have that opportunity and earn that certification with 3 other students this past winter break. That was just very rewarding for me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and everybody, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it for joining us. I know you all have a lot going on. You are all graduating this weekend. Very quickly moving to get prepared for your job your employers have been waiting for you. In Cornell, in Carter, I think it's been since October, I think is what you said, that they've been waiting for you. So they are anxiously awaiting. So I'm assuming you're probably starting on Monday. And Jennifer and Stone, you guys are both getting ready to move to start your jobs as well. So this is a really exciting point in your time. And it's going to be nice. Like you guys are used to being students. So having an opportunity to go out there and like make some money is pretty cool. And I think that's something like I remember what I did with my first paycheck. So that's really cool. So I'm excited for you guys, and congratulations. Sounds like you worked really hard, so you certainly deserve it. And thank you, Dr. Granzel. We appreciate your time. There's still a little bit of sunlight left, so thank you to everyone in the audience. We appreciate it, and we certainly look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us today.
Thank you